This video is kindly brought to you by Skillshare. This is the reality of filming a video. You just like want to get into the good vibe and the good energy. Let's do it. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. If you are returning, it has been so long, I feel like, since I sat down and filmed a video for you guys, and that's why I'm so excited to talk about today's topic. I kind of wanted to talk about this because I was sitting with myself and I was having a lot of realizations about the fact that as you get older, and especially I think growing into your womanhood, and if you're somebody who's going into your 20s, especially just like me, you start to realize that there's a lot of harsh truths about life that you kind of have to learn how to accept without taking it personally or without feeling like the whole world is against you, basically. Not necessarily just as a woman, but as a human being in general. And I think realizing these things will be very beneficial to you and will lead you towards success, peace, happiness, all good things. And now that I have realized them, my life is so much more smoother. So let's get into the video. Let me stop blabbering. Let's talk about the first one, which is happy girls are the prettiest. And let me explain. I feel like as a woman, when you're younger, you have this weird tendency to really try and perform for other people, and I've kind of talked about this before. There's this need to want to be the most dangerous and unattainable woman, or the most beautiful in the eyes of others, and just like when you walk past, you know, people break their necks and they stare. I think every woman that I've ever met, I've ever known, all of my friends, even just me, I've always found this to be the case where we just, all you want is validation, all you want is all of these things, and you really just want to be the prettiest. But what I have realized growing up and becoming an adult is that happy women are the most beautiful women, because when a woman is truly happy, she is tapped into her power, which means everything is in alignment, everything feels good, everything makes sense. And there's a lot of things that can pull you out of that power. For instance, being in a relationship that doesn't serve you. I've been there myself before. Being in friendships that don't serve you, and being in environments that especially don't serve you. The thing about environments that I stress, and the reason I stress about it so much, is because all of the advice I'm giving you goes out the window if you're in the wrong environments. A happy woman is like a magnet to society. She just attracts, and you really don't have to work for very much anymore. Like, that's what you realize. The more you focus on becoming happier as a person, you attract things so effortlessly, and you don't have to go out and search for them. Even if you put two women next to each other and one of the women happened to be more conventionally attractive, the one that is living in her truth will always be perceived as more beautiful, and that is the truth of the matter. Like, you think that looks are everything, but looks are not everything. And I touched on this before as well. When I was younger, like, I used to be attracted to like a melancholic vibe, or like somebody who was like really sad, or like had a veil of sadness on them, because that's what I reflected outward to. But it is not in the least way attractive to me anymore. And it's not to shame anybody for the emotions that they're experiencing. I think pain on an authentic level is very beautiful, and when you're close to somebody and they're connecting with you and sharing what it is that they feel, I think that's very beautiful. But it's different. It's different for when the pain is coming from a place of dwelling in something. And this is why I say feel, don't dwell. I remind myself of this constantly, because I'm like, if I'm sitting and I'm rotting in a state that I'm unable to pull myself out of, then I'm dwelling. I'm not actually feeling the emotions and honoring my body. Instead, I'm dwelling and I'm sitting in my own pit of self-guilt and self-pity that's not going to do anything for me, not going to push me forward. And if anything, the only people that are going to feel bad for me are other people doing the exact same thing, and you do not want to stay stuck in that cycle. It is not healthy for a woman to live in a state of stress. It is not healthy for a woman to be that depleted, because it's unnatural to our bodies. And the thing is, like, you could be doing, and here's my piece of advice for anybody getting into trying to work on themselves and all these things. Like, if you're stuck or if you're having trouble, you need to take a look at one thing and one thing only that's going to change everything for you. You might be doing everything right, but what are your cortisol levels looking like? And I don't mean to sound scientific or because I'm not an expert, and I'm definitely not a health professional. Obviously take my advice with a grain of salt, but this is just the experience I had. I swear to you, if you look at people who are like before and after, when they lowered their cortisol levels, they look so different, and their face literally changes. Like, they have less puffiness, their blemishes are heavily reduced, and like the texture of their skin is a lot smoother, because they take care of themselves. And there's so many ways to lessen your cortisol. You can, you know, working out and eating good and sleeping, just like the fundamental things of being a healthy, happy human being. You need to prioritize that. That is my definition of happiness, is living a life that is completely curated to me, my passions, my love, my desires. And I plan to keep going with that. So I think that that's a really important thing. And even like you become very light, like your energy is very lighthearted and people love to be around you that way. Learning skills is key to making yourself feel better and develop as a human being. Say for example, learning beginner's meditation or even curing workout procrastination. This is where Skillshare comes in. Skillshare is the largest online learning community with thousands of classes led by industry experts who know exactly what they're talking about, so you can learn front to back, literally anything that you're interested in. You guys know that I've been a fan of Skillshare for some time now because I think that it's a community that really advocates for consistent self-development, which I am all for. Right now, I am taking a course on dancing. It's the Afrobeats Masterclass. Listen, I know I have rhythm, but I just want to learn how to improve my movement a little bit, and I haven't danced like freely in a long time, and it actually feels super nice to get back into dancing. So I am taking up that masterclass right now. It's by Shay Dance. There are courses on interior design. Another one I've been exploring, Modern Money Habits by Justin Bridges. That's one I just started, and you can explore so many more. I also want to make note of the fact that they do have their fall learning theme that just opened, as well as their back to school theme. If you think of yourself as like a video game character, it's like every time you learn a new skill, you're like unlocking a new level, which is how I see it. If there's a skill that you've been looking to take up, you can find it on Skillshare and start learning this second. So if you guys are interested, Skillshare is giving you a free trial when you use the link in my description. And let's get back into the video. It's the way that people carry themselves, and it's the way that people think about themselves as well. Because if you think about yourself a certain way, other people will match whatever you see yourself as. There was a certain point in my life when, regardless of whatever compliments I received from anybody or whatever anybody told me, I'd be like, yeah, okay, like they're just saying I'm pretty, whatever. I didn't feel beautiful. Like I might have looked like something else on the outside, but I never felt beautiful, because beauty is truly a feeling. Like you can put yourself together and all the makeup and the hair and it's great, but beauty is truly a feeling that comes from within. And I don't mean to sound like, you know, cliche and all that, but it is true. Like I've seen the most beautiful people. They don't care how they dress, they don't care how they put themselves together, but they just have the most beautiful energy, and you just want to be around them 24/7, and it makes them so attractive. You just want to, like, literally they're just a magnet to all the best things in life. So prioritize your happiness above all else. Now let's talk about the second one, which kind of has a little bit to do with the first point that I made, but it's that beauty fades. I think you have to see it from a very deep point of view in order to really grasp what that means. I really want to touch here on Instagram and it just being a place of, like, for me, for instance, I don't spend a lot of time on there at all. I actually don't even have the app downloaded on my phone most days, unless it's for, like I said, business purposes or whatever. I was watching this podcast of Leo Skepi. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. You guys always ask me who are my other YouTubers. I have a whole bunch of lists. I will provide it for you guys. If you guys want a list of all my favorite YouTubers, I will give that to you guys. But one of my favorites, and I think the most raw and authentic YouTubers I've ever watched, is Leo Skepi. You guys probably are familiar with him. He's hilarious. He's amazing. He's a light. I love him so much. I was watching one of his more recent episodes and he was basically talking about how social media affects you. He said something that I feel like was so true, that I didn't even think about it that way, but it's literally like that's the only way that you should be seeing it, because that's literally the reality, which is that when you're on Instagram and TikTok and all these places, you're only seeing the top 1% of people who wake up looking like that. There's other things you have to consider, like filters and makeup and Photoshop, and I'm not coming for anybody, attacking anybody who does any of those things, but it's like, I know that there's people out there that, you know, naturally look very beautiful. It isn't me, you know, when you wake up first thing in the morning, like nobody looks like, you know, polished into the T. Like I've seen very beautiful women, even when they wake up in the morning, you know, you look tired, like your hair's a mess, and you know, your skin is probably a little dull because you didn't do your skincare yet. Like it's just the reality of being a human being, right? But on Instagram, you don't see that. You see the little ASMR videos and the skincare videos and like everybody looking put together and clean. And I get it, because like Instagram is very like, this is the best part of my life. I'm gonna put the best part of my life on my Instagrams for everybody else to see, and then, you know, whatever, right? I think a lot of young women especially look at that and feel like they have to match that standard, when it's absolutely ridiculous. Because it's like, when you get older, you realize you're going to come into your power, you're going to come into your style, you're going to learn to carry yourself more confidently. You don't need to strive and try to work overtime to become like the most beautiful, the smartest, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to attain. Another thing to consider though is the fact that a lot of these people are very lonely. Like social media and being in this space has taught me a countless amount of things, and I've seen things and I've witness things that are just insane to me. This influencer era and whatever is very heavily glorified because there's so many perks to it. Like, people only look at the benefits and the fact that you get free things and you get flown out or whatever it is. But at the same time, you have to realize a lot of these people are very lonely, and that loneliness stems from the fact that there's a void that they're trying to fill constantly with like more and more things or more and more money or something like that. Even if that's not how people use social media anymore. Like, I definitely see social media being a lot more authentic, and I'm so grateful for that. But at the same time, I never let go of the fact that I'm like, this is just, I'm looking at a screen. This is not somebody's real life, and this person is obviously not fully themselves here. So when I say that beauty fades, I'm talking about the fact that like, we're not gonna look like young, youthful, and have like tight skin forever. We're not gonna be able to fix everything, because I know how many advancements there are in like surgical procedures and things like that, but we're not going to be able to fix everything. Like, I was even speaking to, like, the perfect example is at my yoga class, I have this really lovely lady that comes, and she's around like 50 years old, so she's a little bit older, but she was telling me she saw like one of her friends for dinner one time recently, and she was saying that her friend was like picking herself apart. She was like, oh my goodness, like, look at my neck, look at my face, like my face is sagging, like I feel like I'm getting so old. And then she was like, yeah, like we are getting old and stuff, but you know, you shouldn't place importance on that. And then she was telling me, she was like, it's because she's around people who pick themselves apart as well. And so the environment that she's in teaches her that she's not beautiful as an aging woman. But the woman that comes to my yoga class is the most magnetic and beautiful woman. She looks amazing, not only physically, but just like her ambiance and her aura. She's such a kind soul, and she's always telling me like, always make sure that you're not letting society or like other people tell you that you need to be a certain way as a woman. And especially women, as you get older, you get more criticism. Like, first, when you're younger, doors are being held open for you and all these amazing things, but as you're growing up, you're not having these same experiences because you're aging. But she was looking at me and she was telling me, I have earned every single one of my wrinkles and my smile lines and everything, and I love the way that I am. I love who I've come to be. A healthy, happy life and waking up and being healthy is important above everything else that you can ever possibly think is more important, because there's nothing more important than health, really and truly. She was part of the reason that I wanted to create that as one of the points for today's video, because I was like, you know, I think that I have yet to experience the experience of actually getting older, but I want to make sure that I have it in my mind that it doesn't mean anything about my actual beauty. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't have the internal beauty, the external can only do so much. It will only take you so far. And I've heard that from every single woman that I looked up to, so I know that to be true, and even in my own experience. Next, let's talk about the fact that life is a mirror, and you will only meet people who reflect something back at you. Because sometimes you meet people that you're like, I could not possibly be anything like this person, and you just feel so much like, oh my goodness, this person is over there and I'm over here. Like, you feel like there's this huge division between the two of you. You have to keep keep reminding yourself that you are one with everybody else, because that is the only way you're going to grow, is if you can have sympathy for the fact that even if you think that you and another person are very, very different, at the end of the day, you share at least one thing. It's especially good to take that mindset toward people who really tick you off, because it's very easy to be mindful and conscious and enjoy life and be happy when you're around the people that you like and the people that like you. It's not the same attitude and the same energy that we bring to people who actually piss us off and, like, you know, really trigger us and make our blood boil. And I know that's one of the hardest spiritual practices there is, but you have to practice it, because I promise you it's going to make you into the best version of yourself. Now let's talk about the fact that nobody owes you anything. I think it's literally just the fact that everything is just a lot easier for our generation. And by our generation, I mean people in their 20s, like just growing up with technology and all those types of things. Like, I think things have just been a lot easier for us. And this is probably a really hard realization to come to terms with, because you feel like the world owes you something. You feel like other people owe you something. Realistically, what could they possibly give you that will make your life better? Because anything that's worth having, you have to literally put yourself in a position to go and get it, and then go through the trials and tribulations of earning that thing, and then, you know, seeing who you become as a result of it. But nobody owes you anything, and nobody is coming to save you. Accountability is such a powerful thing, because it puts power back into your hands. Let's talk about privacy and the fact that if somebody thinks that your life is so boring and thinks that you're not doing anything with your life, consider it a huge blessing. Let me explain. In other words, think of it as a blessing when you look like you're not doing absolute shit with your life. Because why do people need to know everything about your life? Why do people know everything about your life to begin with? You don't need to convince people that you have this really amazing and like beautiful and amazing life, because the thing is, the people that actually are living really good lives don't say anything about it. So consider it a blessing for someone to look at you and think that you're the most boring person who has nothing going for themselves. People want to know what your next move is. Do not tell them. I don't care if it's something that you think other people are going to praise you for. Have you ever heard of private victories? Because private victories are so important, and you need to get yourself used to having private victories. I actually wanted to get that saying tatted on me, private victories, and I saw it on Entrepreneur. Now I don't know if I want to get any tattoos, but it was a reminder to myself, like Roshani, fall in love with the private victories, fall in love with winning in private, because like people always say, practice in private and then be rewarded in public. But I find it to be like, yes, you'll be rewarded in public regardless, but at the same time, like, it's so nice to sit somewhere and just celebrate with yourself. And you know, like, even if you have a small win, like, you get to just have your little cheer and do it for yourself, and obviously share it with the people that you really love. But at the same time, learn to have your private victories. Learn to fall in love with seeing yourself grow and being your only audience. There will be moments in your life where you will be your only audience. You will be your only cheerleader. You will be your biggest supporter when nobody else believes in you. On that note, it's a huge benefit when people underestimate you. Why? Because when you're in the shadows, you can maneuver and you can get from A to B and do this and that without anybody watching you too closely. So if you are keeping your life only to you and to your loved ones, you are playing the game right. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.